Hi students, this is Lee. In this video I'll be teaching you more about how to use Google Forms. We'll start by making sure that you're logged into your Google account with the school district. So make sure that you are seeing your name, and if you haven't done this already, make sure that you go to the classroom website, find that spot on our websites for students for signing in. Once you've done that, you'll go to the waffle, as we like to call it, so we can access our Google apps, and go to your Google Drive. Once in your Google Drive, we're going to be creating something new, and so over on the New button right here, we'll click on New, and you'll find Google Forms most likely under your More menu. It's a small purple icon, Google Forms. There we have our Google form all set up for us. Everything's blank and ready to go. The first thing I'd like you to do is to make sure that you name your untitled form with the name of the person you are learning about, followed by your name. So you want to make sure again that it's the person you've been learning about, followed by your name. Once you've done this, simply by clicking on the space up here called Untitled Form, it will now name your form up here as well. So just make sure you see them both here, and if you don't see it, give it that quick click. Before I get into writing my questions, I want to get a few things set up first. A quick decision on my background. It gives me this kind of purplish color background to begin, and I might be just fine and happy with that. But we have some choices over here in the color palette. They have all these choices to choose from, or if you think there might be something that might connect to the person you've been learning about, they have themes, and they have a lot of them to choose from. So don't spend too much time in this area because we want to focus on your questions. But they have quite a few different categories and some different themes that might end up connecting with something that reminds you of something your person was about, or I'm just going to go ahead and click on this one. And for now, we'll change the theme to this. Maybe I'll find something different later, or simply just pick a color. Again, don't spend too much time on that decision so we can focus on your questions. I'm going to skip over the preview for now, but I might come back to that later. The settings menu is going to be important. We want to make sure that we automatically collect the name of anyone who takes our quiz. So anyone else from our classroom who takes the quiz, we won't have to ask them their name. It'll simply collect the name for us. Also, you can probably uncheck this box. We don't need to let other people submit another response once they've already taken our quiz one time. It might be interesting for them to see a summary of responses. It won't show them who answered what from your quiz, but it will give them a summary kind of showing what other people may have answered. They might find that interesting to compare to when they're done. Alright, we can click on those, and I think we're ready to start getting some questions going. So our first question is waiting for us right here. I'm going to ask, not what, I'll do a where was Martin born? Oops, they notice I got an extra N on Martin. Thank you. Alright, let's give some options for people. Let's just choose Bloomington, Minnesota. And that's our first of 4 different options that we're going to add. When you want to add another option, just simply click on Add Option. And another option will be here, and one more option here. Alright. Sometimes when you're adding options, it seems like the Add Other would be what you'd want to click, but that would be for a question where you want them to submit an answer other than the choices you've given. But I'm pretty sure we just want to give them the 4 choices and then let them move on. Before I move on to my next question though, something that I want to make sure we give in each question is a hint. We're going to make sure our books are available for the people because we don't expect them to know everything about the person that we've learned just yet, but we want to help them learn it. So I'm going to make sure that when they get this question, they also have my book available, which we'll have in class on the day that we take these quizzes. And we'll make sure that they can look on page 4 for a bit of a hint so that they won't be expected to know it, but they will be given a good chance to learn about it by looking on that page. Now, if I'm ready to add another question, I can click on this Add Question. However, I'm noticing that there's a little spot down here where I can require them to answer this question. So that way, if they finish my quiz but they didn't actually make a choice on this question, it will actually give them a little notification saying they need to come back and answer that part of my quiz. So I'm going to make sure that they are required to answer that question. Now add new question, and it's waiting for me to ask something else. So I'll ask, what was Martin's name when he was born? Now the obvious option would be that his name was Martin, but this is kind of an interesting piece of trivia that most people don't know, so I'll give people some different choices for what his name might have been when he was first born. Oh, and I want to make sure that this is, again, something where people can get a hint. This was also something from page 4 of my book, and so we'll have it right there for them. All right, I'm going to make sure they are required to answer that question. Just like other Google products we've worked with, this will be saving automatically kind of every second. In fact, real small up here it says all changes saved in Drive. So I don't need to click on save. If this is all the information I have so far, because I've only read a few pages of my book and I want to add these questions, I could close this and come back to it another day and add more questions when I'm ready to do that. Maybe at this point it just might be interesting to see what other people are going to see when they take my quiz. And so far, this is what it looks like. Looks a lot like what I was working on when I was editing it. And if I do need to go back and edit it, I click on the little pencil icon to edit this form, and I'm back to the spot where I can start making changes. If for some reason I wanted to change something about this question, I can simply click on the question. One of the things I could do is I could change or drag around the order of my choices if for some reason I felt that these choices should be in a slightly different order than the way I originally put them. Or you can actually, let's see, if I click off of that question, I'm working on a new question. Oh, put the space. This little spot right here would actually drag the entire question to a new place in my quiz. Let me try dragging that again so I can change the order of it. So if I wanted to change that question's order, I could move that around. I don't know if I want to do that because I think I want them to follow along by the page numbers as they're kind of going through the book. That seems to make sense for now. All right, when you do get finished asking all of your questions, one of the things I'd like you to do is to make sure that I can also be a part of what you've been working on. So you're going to add Collaborators. Again, that was under that little 3-dot menu there. And type in your teacher's name. There I am. And I will be able to edit your quiz, and that way if you have any questions on something, it might make it easier for me to help you along with that as well. It's going to give me a notification once you add me as a collaborator, and I would ask you to wait to do this until you're finished with your entire quiz, because once I get that, I'll be collecting all of the information in the quiz links to share with the entire class. So wait until you're finished with your whole quiz before you add me as a collaborator. But I just wanted to show you how to do that right now. All right, I believe I've added most everything that I've wanted to share with you about Google Forms for right now. In class, we'll talk a little bit more about how to find information about responses that other people have given, but I think that's everything I need to cover at this point. There's some other tools that we can use as far as different things that could be added to a Google form, but for right now, we're just going to focus on adding questions, 4 different choices for each one. And I'm very excited to find out what kind of information you ask your classmates and what you learn about this month during our genre theme of biography. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you've learned a lot. If you have any questions, of course, you can always ask them in class, but I thought this would be a helpful resource as you're working on your project, and I hope that you have fun with Google Forms.